Hello, I'm Tom Allen with GreenTech Heat Solutions, and I'm very excited today to bring to you Dr. Michael Linford. Dr. Michael Linford is the developer and original developer in the late 80s of insect heat treatment technology and the methodology that is used today for bedbug heat treatments. He is also the author of our heat treatment field guide that's used today for all of our methodology and our training. But before we get into the heat treatment field guide today, I want Dr. Michael Linford to tell us about the beginnings, the origins of the heat treatment technology and where it came from.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to be here. A little over 27 years ago, I developed, commercialized, and patented a heat technology using convected active moving heat with portable heaters for insect eradication. I introduced it to the structural pest control industry. I was working in a joint venture with Dr. Chuck Forbes, geology professor at Cal State Dominguez Hills, and Dr. Walter Ebling, an entomologist at UCLA. They had conceived and researched the idea of using extreme temperatures to eradicate insects. We originally started with trying to eradicate drywood termite infestations inside of buildings. The structural members that are clapped with stucco wood, stone, or brick on one side, and drywall or insulation on the other side to get the core temperatures of those structural members to 130 for 90 minutes.
And this was all for the termites originally?
Originally for the termites. I had a fumigation company running about 40 fumigation trucks from Fresno to San Diego, doing fumigations for Orkin and Terminex and Western and Dewey and Hydrex and these other types of companies that weren't doing their own fumigation work. So as we rolled this out and this technology out, we learned that insects are vulnerable to temperatures. In the lab, we targeted 120 degrees. We found that taking lab thermal limit temperatures with insects into the field was a mistake, because you can control all the conditions in a laboratory, but you can't in the field. So we went from 120 for 30 minutes as our original baseline for termites to 130 for 90 minutes in the core of wood. So we developed how to probe, how to circulate the air, how to move it through, how to create a thermal dynamic that would eradicate insects, and specifically termites in this case. But we also found that it was effective for eradication of cockroaches and other insects. Also, we learned that it is ovicidal. This means that it will kill the egg stage of insects, whereas typical pesticides are not ovicidal. So it had an added benefit in eliminating all metamorphic stages of the insect.
But doesn't the insecticides, can't they kill the eggs too?
No, because many times the eggs are not exposed to the pesticides. They're hidden, they're in areas where you can't spray. In the case of fumigation that we were using, we used methyl bromide and sulfuryl fluoride, but even those fumigants, at least the sulfuryl fluoride Vicane, were not ovicidal. The reason that you can use those for the termites is because when they morph from the egg stage to the nymphal instar, first nymphal instar, they do not have the protozoa to digest wood specifically, so they die if you don't even kill the eggs. But then you don't kill the spider eggs or the roach eggs with the Vicane sulfuryl fluoride. Methyl bromide is a little different.
This is where the heat treatment that I understand that you can kill the eggs and the adults in one treatment as opposed to the insecticide method?
All metamorphic stages are susceptible to heat, including the egg, and it's been independently tested. So at the time that we introduced this methodology technology, we had fumigation, we had the electrogun, we had the microwave, we had the freezing, and we had the heat. And so the state of California commissioned Dr. Bernard Lewis, UC Berkeley, to do a study. Ended up being a 5-year study in the Richmond Extension campus of UC Berkeley. They built a special structure for testing. And so we went through that 4-year of specific testing, and in the 5th year compiled the results and introduced it. At the conclusion of that, Dr. Lewis determined that heat was as effective as fumigation for termite eradication. And the state of California then showed it as a primary. Whole house fumigation, whole house heat was a primary recommendation for termite infestations, whereas the others were secondary. So you get back to the egg situation. If you're going to drill and treat, try to impregnate the wood with a termiticide, are you going to get to the eggs? Are you going to find the queen? Whereas you can heat through the whole structure or fumigate through the whole structure and eradicate the stages. As we introduced to the structural pest control industry, I also worked with Dr. Ken Grace, entomologist at University of Hawaii, Manoa. Worked with Dr. Michael K. Russ, University of California, Riverside. Worked with Dr. Bernard Lewis as well. And we also worked with Dr. Rudy Sheffron, University of Florida. And at the time, Dr. Mike Potter was the entomologist for Orkin, who I worked specifically with at that time, who was positive about the use of heat. Obviously, one of the reasons why I got into this alternative method is that we were putting very poisonous fumigants, methylbromide or Vicane, into the atmosphere and into homes.
And then that, to the novices, that sounds pretty strong. That sounds like a very radical type of insecticide.
Just as an example, I can tell you that we were doing a job on 39th and Elm in Long Beach, California, and we had a burglar break into a structure that was being fumigated. He was dead in 30 seconds. If you have a perfect seal with a fumigation, in 12 hours you lose half of the fumigant, which means it goes through the tarps and out. So as I looked at the future, was there an alternative that was non-chemical and healthy? Could we actually disinfect a structure in addition to eradicating the insects without pesticides?
Wow.
So we've determined that we could. Heat can be used in combination. One of my patents was combining heat with a slow-acting desiccant dust. In this case, for roaches, a boric acid dust. Like diatomaceous earth, only a little bit different, more specifically tailored for roaches. And we did a restaurant in Irvine, California, Fat Freddy's restaurant, that was going to be closed down by the health department. And they had roaches all over the place and even coming out of the cash register, a very nice restaurant. And so they called us in a panic, having seen us on Peter Jennings' World News. And he said, "You got to come and save me. I'm going to be closed down." So we went in and started heating at midnight and heated for 5 hours. That's all they gave us, with propane heaters at the time that we had developed for us.
This was an A-rated restaurant.
Oh, very, very high quality. 90,000 cubic foot, very large freestanding restaurant. And we heated with these heaters and got to about 115 inside the wall voids. Treatment air was probably in the 150s, which is a good treatment air temperature. And we dusted in the voids underneath the false cabinet bottoms. We plugged the drains, and we heated. And we were really trying to shoot for 120 in the wall voids if we could get there. A week later, the female Asian health inspector, Judy, called me and said, "What did you do at Fat Freddy's?" I thought, oh no, somebody's died of food poisoning. And I thought, oh, no, what? Right. And I said, "Well, what do you mean, Judy?" She said, "I've been trying for a week to find one single roach. I've been using Agricent, I've been using flushing agents, I've been using glue boards. What did you do?" I wanted to close them down. And right then we realized that a slow-acting desiccant dust with a non-lethal heat caused a quick kill. And what it did, it increased the metabolism of the insect, which caused it to be more active.
Yeah, mobilized.
Okay, it also weakened the waxy exoskeleton to make it more permeable, drove them across the desiccant dust that they might normally try to avoid. And of course, roaches preen, which means they lick their paws, they lick their feet, and it became a systemic poison as well. And we got a complete kill. So we found that we can use heat with or without chemicals, with slow-acting desiccant mineral dust like diatomaceous earth, or you can use it with other products that are chemical-based as well if you want to have some sort of a perimeter barrier.
It's synergistic.
It's synergistic.
Yes.
We usually recommend treat before you heat. Now,
Prior. Okay.
During this period of time, having grown up in pest control, there were very few bed bugs, if ever, that we ever got calls on. So in the 40s, we had DDT being used, which is a carcinogenic insecticide, but that pretty well eradicated bed bugs. During the late 90s, the world economy grew, and we started to get business travelers from all over the world. India, Pakistan, we started to get people from some of the Asian countries that we had, and bed bugs are more common in those areas. And they brought it, they got a foothold in New York. New York has an emergency number 311 just for bed bug emergencies. And so as the world economy grew, we started getting many more business travelers from the Far East, as well as India and Pakistan. And these people have bed bugs much more common. This got the bed bugs reintroduced into our society. They're excellent hitchhikers, maybe starting first in hotels and then spreading across to all segments of society now. When bed bugs burst onto the scene, we convinced the entomologists and the experts in the industry that heat would be a viable tool, that we could control migration out of the infested areas and out of the treatment areas during treatment, and that it would be an effective tool to add to pest control operators' tool bag. I wanted to give people, hotel owners and managers, property managers, camps, student housing in universities, all of these different areas, a tool that if they were spending exorbitant amounts for bed bug treatments, that they could acquire an effective tool that could be used for bed bug eradication, that they could treat, non-chemical, and at the same time they could disinfect the structure. It can denature the protein in dust mite feces, which is the #1 allergen in America. Doctors have written prescriptions for asthma patients using heat to disinfect the structure of mold allergies and other things.
This is all your passion and what brought you to help people with a product that is non-chemical, non-insecticide that they could live with to be able to take care of these issues and not have mites and bed bugs and not sleep with or live with inside of insecticides and chemicals.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dr. Linford, for all that great information. GreenTech Heat invites you to take a look at our YouTube channel, and please visit our website with many more videos available, plus our GreenTech Heat Treatment Field Guide by Dr. Linford.